Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today as we're sitting down talking about WWE's Money in the Bank 2018 pay-per-view. We've sat down and we've tried to do this full show preview, honestly, a few times. So this intro, I'm not going to kill it with you guys. Over this last month, we've basically learned that WWE is extending its WWE pay-per-view time 1 extra hour to go along with the WWE brand split. Basically, they are killing off each brand having their own separate pay-per-views. Each pay-per-view, each and every month, is going to be Raw and SmackDown competitors. This does not interest me all that much, honestly, because now a 4-hour pay-per-view seems more like work than a normal 3-hour pay-per-view. I might not sit down and watch each and every edition of Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. I might skip a few episodes here or there along the way, but I would always sit down and watch each and every pay-per-view each and every month. And honestly be interested. And sometimes I wish that I would know a little bit more about the feuds that were going down. But honestly, I look at this pay-per-view here with WWE's Money in the Bank 2018. I care about who wins the men Money in the Bank. I care about who wins the women's Money in the Bank. I sort of care about the AJ match against Nakamura because I'm hoping that this is going to be the end of the feud one way or another, no matter which way it goes. And basically from there on out, I have minimal interest in like the Good Brothers having their match against the Bludgeon Brothers for the SmackDown tag titles. From there on out, there's matches that ultimately Roman Reigns versus Jinder Mahal. We have Sami Zayn going up against Bobby Lashley. These are matches that I have no care in the world about. Asuka versus Carmella seems like it's very, very predictable to me. Whoever wins the Money in the Bank, that is the men and the women, whoever wins that is basically going to be controlling what goes on in WWE from there on out, basically controlling what goes on during the summer months leading to SummerSlam, maybe even longer to go into the WrestleMania feuds. Someday that thing's actually going to be cashed in the way it was explained, where that person is going to be added to the actual main event of WrestleMania. Maybe even someday we'll see it just explained where they just cash it in, not even for a championship match, but they just cashed it in for a feud to have something go down. In example, I can remember some people basically thinking that maybe somebody would win the Money in the Bank and cash it in to have a match against Ric Flair at WrestleMania, possibly ending their that streak at WrestleMania 24. That would have been a really cool way to have Flair have his send-off and honestly make somebody a huge star in the making. This should be a good show. As of right now, it is scheduled that I'm going to be sitting down and watching this on Sunday the 12th. And we are a week out. I don't see many things changing, just sort of building up the feuds along the way. They really made Becky Lynch look huge, getting that win against Charlotte on SmackDown this week. But you know, in these go home shows leading to Money in the Bank, I don't really see a lot of things changing. So these should be the final things to add. If any matches add to the show, possibly something off of 205 Live with the Cruiserweight Championship. And I don't think there's a tag titles for the Monday Night Raw show. Oh, it's the B team going up against the Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt, whatever their names are. The Leader of Worlds or something like that. They got a tag title match. I didn't see it on the list, but possibly I just missed it somewhere along the way. But we'll see what goes down with that. So we'll get into the matches. I know we've talked about this in the past, so we don't want to be jamming everything up. So let's get on to it. All right, the first match that we're going to talk about on the full show preview for Money in the Bank 2018 is going to be Big Cass going up against Daniel Bryan. These guys had a match back at Backlash that led to basically a small feud where it looked like Daniel Bryan was going to get added to the Money in the Bank ladder match, but Bryan was unable to get the win to put himself into the match, and at the same time Kaz came down with an injury, which led to Daniel Bryan having another match to see if he was going to be able to get in against Samoa Joe. Everything did not work out to Daniel Bryan's yes plans. But Big Cass basically explained that the injury was a ruse. And I think it was just a way to sort of get into the mind of Daniel Bryan before he smashed him up with the crutch. Big Cass versus Daniel Bryan is now added to the Money in the Bank thing. If you can remember back to Backlash last month, only a month ago, Daniel Bryan made Big Cass tap out right there in the middle of the ring. Big Cass was able to get up after the match, and he beat up Daniel Bryan for his efforts to make it look like even though he lost the battle, he was able to win the war. But since then, Daniel Bryan has basically been counting down the days till he could get Big Cass back in the ring again, and basically saying that if he wants another shot at him, he's going to take him. Big Cass is now taken Kevin Nash's gimmick from TNA. If you can remember back, Kevin Nash was in TNA, and he had a feud where he was going up against the X Division guys, where he was actually lending his name to them, trying to help make them stars by having them get in the ring with him. I think they built up that either Alex Shelley or I think somebody was going to have a match against Kevin Nash, and then Kevin Nash faked an injury and ended up no-showing the pay-per-view or something like that. And then, of course, in TNA fashion, he never got in trouble. But the big line that he was saying the whole time, Big Cass said on SmackDown, is that a good big man will always beat a good little man because of the size difference. Seeing how this is a rematch, I would not be surprised that Big Cass finds a way to beat Daniel Bryan in this match. I don't think this is a match that I think anybody really wants to see. I see this sort of as a waste of Daniel Bryan's talent, but they're not going to be putting Daniel Bryan in the main event. I think that it's sort of protecting him, not being in the ladder match. Not every match is going to be the main event for Daniel Bryan from here on out. For them to even put the belt on him or put him in the main event is going to take a lot of trust. And it's a lot like Finn Balor coming back from that injury, even though they put the championship on him right away. They haven't wanted to put him there because sometimes people have injuries and sometimes people's injuries are small and sometimes they're really big like Daniel Bryan's. And they don't want to put them in the risk of putting the championship on somebody and then it ended up where he's not able to defend it. So I'm not looking for a great match out of Big Cass and Daniel Bryan. I am looking that Cass is going to get the victory. And then we'll have a dreadful third match to pay off to see who actually wins this feud. And that is the worst parking job by anybody backing into a spot of all time that I'm looking at. There's no way that they're going to be able to fix that without pulling all the way out. So, no, they're not even going to try. Fuck it. I'm just parking right in the middle of two spots. I'm going into State Farm, and I got a lot of business in there, and don't have to worry about reparking my car. What a fucking bitch. Seth Rollins has been one of the main events of WWE's Monday Night Raw, carrying that brand, really coming into his form. It really surprised me that Rollins came out and basically said that he was not looking to go into the Money in the Bank picture this year. He wanted to keep defending the Intercontinental Championship. Seeing how Brock Lesnar has not been on Monday Night Raw, has not been, at any shows since WrestleMania. The Intercontinental Championship, seeing how that is the only singles title on the brand, really has become that main title that is going to be there. We've seen Rollins have singles matches week after week on Monday Night Raw, and that came to an end basically when Seth Rollins was in the middle of a match when Elias snuck up behind and like a song, bursting up the charts like a bullet, took his guitar and bashed it over Seth Rollins' head, setting up the singles match for the Intercontinental Championship. I can really honestly see this match going either way. At this time, I really think that Seth Rollins is a great Intercontinental Champion. I think that he should keep the belt. But at the same time, Elias, even though he is a heel, I see him as a guy that really has a lot to add, that if he was to add a championship to his reign, even though I think they would book him as a chicken shit heel, getting wins, but, getting them in various cheating fashions, would be a good Intercontinental Champion. This is going to be a flip of the coin that could easily go either way. Elias losing a match to Seth Rollins clean in the middle of a pay-per-view, I don't think would hurt him that much. So I think that as of right now, Rollins would be my pick to get the victory at Money in the Bank. Elias, I think, would be a great Intercontinental Champion that he could go on and have singles matches against guys like Bobby Lashley and find a way to get out of them, keeping the championship and make him look strong, and at the same time keeping the fan favorite heel status that he has along with him. So I'm looking for a good match at the pay-per-view from these guys, but like I said, this could be a flip of the coin. I'm going to be taking Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins to get the victory. Hopefully he can keep on and having great singles matches, but I wouldn't be surprised if Elias walks out with the gold as well. Man, oh man, I made a video about Bobby Lashley last month before Backlash when they had that Bobby Lashley and Braun Strowman tag team match against Sami, Zayn, and Kevin Owens. Basically saying that, Bobby Lashley, although he really was a single star in TNA, did not bring anything to the table when he came to WWE. There was some fanfare for him when the rumor was that he signed. Then, of course, you have the WrestleMania Raw debut when he returns to the company. Since then, I really feel like Bobby Lashley has peed the bed in a huge way. I don't see Bobby Lashley bringing anything to the table in WWE on the Monday Night Raw brand. He has been involved in just bad segments after bad segments. I know that there's a lot of talk about the Chris Jericho thing, that were basically Chris Jericho went after Michael Cole because Michael Cole said one of his segments was the worst segment in Monday Night Raw history. In my opinion, I honestly think that the whole, Sami Zayn bringing out Bobby Lashley's sisters was one of the worst things that WWE has ever done in their whole existence. It was bad. It was bad to the point where you could tell that there was no saving it. This past week on Monday Night Raw, when Sami Zayn was up in the press box and he was calling down to Bobby Lashley in the ring, basically making it look like he wanted to fight him, but, he was way up here and that guy was way down there. And he wasn't going to waste his efforts to go down there and get him, making it look like Sami Zayn is actually wanting to have the fight. Bobby Lashley could have this match at Money in the Bank, and he could beat Sami Zayn in the matter of seconds. And I don't think that anybody's going to care or anything's going to save him. Bobby Lashley needs to have a feud that really means something. Adding him to the Money in the Bank match itself, honestly, would have been really big, even if he just would have been in it, not to win it, but to have that moment where he just, just body slams everybody and shows off how strong he is and has that moment. We've seen this from guys like Randy Orton, where he's gone into the Money in the Bank match, and even though he's not going to win it, he just starts hitting RKOs on everybody, and you sell that finish that, Orton is the guy that can explode at any minute and find a way to win this match. Same thing that they should have done with Lashley. But Lashley's stuck in this match. I don't really think a whole lot is going to come of it. I take Bobby Lashley to get the win, because if Sami Zayn wins this, where the heck do they go from here? And how weak does it make Bobby Lashley look? It doesn't make it look like it's anybody that I'm going to fear getting in the ring with. We're going to start this video up by throwing it up for the Good Brothers. The Good Brothers got the victory over the Bludgeon Brothers on SmackDown this past week. And besides for them winning the tag titles after, going after them for like 1,000 times after making their WWE debut after WrestleMania 32, I think that was the biggest victory that the Good Brothers, Luke Gallows and Machine Gun Carl Anderson, have got since joining WWE. It has been a long road for these guys, even to make it to WWE, and then once they got there, it seemed like they were losing match after match. From knowing these guys and following their podcast back in the day, Talking Shop, which they would record when they were over in Japan, hanging out, waiting for their matches. Not a lot for them to do there except sit in their hotel room and drink, go to some Giants games and drink, go out to sushi and drink, go out with their, what would they call them? They're the people that would pay for them to go out and drink with them. Basically, they did a lot of drinking, and they recorded a lot of these podcasts. Some of them they were drunk, some of them were borderline drunk, some of them were majorly drunk, and they were good. And that's one of the reasons why I became fans of these guys. But really, really good stuff to see them actually getting wins. When I made my videos about the Superstar Shakeups, they were some of the main guys that I thought would get moved over from Raw to SmackDown to really give them a big boost, and they did it right away. I'm not 100% sure they want to put the tag titles on these guys, especially them getting a non-title victory before the pay-per-view. That's always sort of like the whisper of death. for something that's going to be going into the pay-per-view. But I'm just happy to see them actually getting a push on the brand and getting put on the pay-per-view, actually looking like they're going to be there. Machine Gun Carl Anderson, whatever this guy has done in the blink of an eye to get himself, he's shrunk in size. His belly is just non-existent, and he's got abs for days. He must be training with Finn Balor, or just not drinking beer anymore or something like that. But we'll see what this guy's doing. You know, he's flying across the country. He's not reading the novels anymore. I wonder what he is doing. But, you know, this guy is in shape, and it happened in the blink of an eye. So he's probably looking the best he has in his whole career. So I'm rooting for these guys. I just want to see them do good. I've been following them ever since they were in the Bullet Club over in Japan, and I'm rooting for them. So I'm taking the Good Brothers to get the win. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't. But let's see what comes from this match for the SmackDown Tag Titles. All right, here we go. Roman Reigns, the supposed main eventer of WWE, is going up against Jinder Mahal. I don't even think Ravi, Assault and Battery 777, is going to have good things to say about this match. This is a feud that has really just sort of been just treading water on Monday Night Raw. To me, you know, Roman was supposed to go after the Universal Championship against Brock Lesnar. It ends up that Brock's not booked. Looks like the word as of now is that Roman versus Brock is going to happen at SummerSlam, and that's maybe where we're going to get the end of the Brock Lesnar storyline. Roman going to WrestleMania and losing. Roman going to Saudi Arabia in the world's greatest Royal Rumble and losing was really a big mystery to me. Many people were pointing that he would go to Money in the Bank, and that's where they would have the big match, trying to make Money in the Bank be, you know, bigger than it has been, even though it's one of the big pay-per-views, just rising it, maybe hopefully getting it to the point of, you know, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, seeing how it is the kickoff to the summer, is the way that I always sort of put it. But Roman versus Jinder, honestly, just really just doesn't do it for me. I would hate to see this main event, the pay-per-view. I think that honestly people would be getting up in groves and leaving the show. I could see the men's Money in the Bank being the main event. I can also at the same time see them pushing the whole women's revolution to the point where the women's match is the main event of the show. But Roman versus Jinder better not be anywhere near that pay-per-view ending of that show. This just seems like a match that people from the rafters would just be booing their likes off. I'm not one to really boo Roman Reigns, but when there are matches that I don't really care about or really don't see the point of, I you know, tell the truth, and I think this is one of them. Roman, to me, is a really good wrestler. It seems like he has good matches all the time, but this is a match that honestly has no point to it at all. I don't even really know what the storyline is. I don't know if Jinder is trying to say that he wants to have his match against Brock Lesnar that he lost at Survivor Series, because he lost his match to AJ Styles over on the SmackDown brand for the championship when it was SmackDown champion versus Universal champion back then. But we'll see what goes down with this. But I'm not really looking forward to seeing a whole lot. If you can remember back to Undertaker versus shoot, what was his name? Oh, dang it. The guy where he just killed him because the WWE needed to kill the gimmick. I don't know why. I thought of him for a minute and then I forgot him. But he was like the Saudi Arabian guy back in the day. I keep on like, oh, it's Jinder Mahal, but it's not Jinder Mahal. But, you know, where Undertaker just killed the guy at the Great American Bash. That's possibly what I'm looking forward to this match, where basically maybe just Jinder jumps him backstage and ends up sort of just being a backstage segment that rolls out to the ring, where Roman just beats him, where a non-official match really happens. That's possibly the best case scenario for this show. And I don't really know what the point of Roman beating Jinder clean would be. All right, here we go. Nia Jax against Ronda Rousey for the Raw Women's Championship. This definitely is a match that has the possibility of main eventing the show. I can see this going either way, where it's just sort of tucked in the middle. Ronda Rousey coming into WWE. She does have some wrestling training, but it seems like they're really pushing this match out of the blue really fast. I think that if you were to ask Ronda Rousey, she wouldn't want to be in championship matches this fast into WWE. I know that they've talked about the fact that, her contract is not like any other past, I guess you can say legend or outside of wrestling superstar, celebrity status, where she is going to appear on house shows. She is going to appear on Monday Night Raw. Each and every week, she'll be on most pay-per-views. It's not where they're going to take her and they're going to hide her. She's sort of been exposed where she's not really great at doing promos, something that hopefully she'll get more comfortable with and build herself into. You can sort of see that she is really a wrestling fan, and sort of it still hasn't worn off, and she is marking out for the fact that she is in WWE at this time and she is on the roster. But you can tell that she wants to be doing this, so that is really cool. It's not that she's just doing this for the money because she hasn't had a UFC fight in years, but I think she's still living off royalties from UFC to the point where I don't think she really needs this. It's that she really wants to do this. A couple different ways that this can pan out. We could see some sort of a disqualification where Nia keeps the championship and Ronda is on the chase to move for it. But I can really see this where Ronda gets her moment where she actually wins the championship. And that's sort of the end of it. And we move on from Monday Night Raw as Ronda being the champion. Then we have the celebration from there. But at the same time, I can see this as sort of a Big Show or a Rey Mysterio situation at Money in the Bank where they win the championship match, become the champion for a minute, and then out of the blue comes the cash in from the women's Money in the Bank. It's no guarantee that the championship reign is going to last a day. Once that Money in the Bank briefcase is in somebody's hand, they can cash that in at any time they feel. Nia Jax being one of the big huge monsters in WWE, the women's division, I can see her putting a hurting on Ronda Rousey. I don't think this is going to be one of those fights where basically Ronda gets into the ring and makes her tap out with the armbar right away. Definitely we're going to be seeing, Ronda using her weight, using her size. We're going to see Nia using her weight and using her size to her advantage. So you can see somebody, they've really been building up this Natalya and Ronda Rousey storyline. I know that Natalya is one of the people that really got Ronda in. It looked like they were going to be going with a Mickie James and Ronda Rousey storyline with sort of Natalya being in her corner. That was sort of just pulled out of the blue. Where they go from there, I'm not 100% quite sure, but we could be seeing Natalya actually winning the Money in the Bank briefcase and then cashing in on her own friend. It's not her first run with the championship, but there definitely would be some, outside of WWE jealousy, I guess you can say, that, Rousey comes in and basically in her second show is fighting for the championship. Natalya's been there for, I guess, 18 years or so. No, not 18. She's been there for at least 8, because I can remember being there in 2010. And, she's only had one run with the championship where she won it at last year's SummerSlam. And she wants to be the champion because she wants all eyes on her because she's a pretty damn good wrestler. So maybe Natalya could possibly be the winner and cash in on Rousey to go from there. But that every time she's in the ring, WWE's going to be looking for that picture that's going to be in the paper. She wants to have headlines on ESPN.com as well as any other thing that covers, sports to try and get people to come in. So maybe it's just a clean victory for Rousey where she gets the win and is going to be holding the championship to make people tune into Monday Night Raw to see what she's going to do with it and where that next feud's going to be coming from. All right, here we go. Nia Jax against Ronda Rousey for the Raw Women's Championship. This definitely is a match that has the possibility of main eventing the show. I can see this going either way, where it's just sort of tucked in the middle. Ronda Rousey coming into WWE. She does have some wrestling training, but it seems like they're really pushing this match out of the blue really fast. I think that if you were to ask Ronda Rousey, she wouldn't want to be in championship matches this fast into WWE. I know that they've talked about the fact that, her contract is not like any other past, I guess you can say legend or outside of wrestling superstar, celebrity status, where she is going to appear on house shows. She is going to appear on Monday Night Raw. Each and every week, she'll be on most pay-per-views. It's not where they're going to take her and they're going to hide her. She's sort of been exposed where she's not really great at doing promos, something that hopefully she'll get more comfortable with and build herself into. You can sort of see that she is really a wrestling fan, and sort of it still hasn't worn off, and she is marking out for the fact that she is in WWE at this time and she is on the roster. But you can tell that she wants to be doing this, so that is really cool. It's not that she's just doing this for the money because she hasn't had a UFC fight in years, but I think she's still living off royalties from UFC to the point where I don't think she really needs this. It's that she really wants to do this. A couple different ways that this can pan out. We could see some sort of a disqualification where Nia keeps the championship and Ronda is on the chase to move for it. But I can really see this where Ronda gets her moment where she actually wins the championship. And that's sort of the end of it. And we move on from Monday Night Raw as Ronda being the champion. Then we have the celebration from there. But at the same time, I can see this as sort of a Big Show or a Rey Mysterio situation at Money in the Bank where they win the championship match, become the champion for a minute, and then out of the blue comes the cash-in from the women's Money in the Bank. It's no guarantee that the championship reign is going to last a day. Once that Money in the Bank briefcase is in somebody's hand, they can cash that in at any time they feel. Nia Jax being one of the big, huge monsters in WWE, the women's division, I can see her putting a hurting on Ronda Rousey. I don't think this is going to be one of those fights where basically Ronda gets into the ring and makes her tap out with the armbar right away. Definitely we're going to be seeing, Ronda using her weight, using her size. We're going to see Nia using her weight and using her size to her advantage. So you can see somebody, they've really been building up this Natalya and Ronda Rousey storyline. I know that Natalya is one of the people that really got Ronda in. It looked like they were going to be going with a Mickie James and Ronda Rousey storyline with sort of Natalya being in her corner. That was sort of just pulled out of the blue. Where they go from there, I'm not 100% quite sure, but we could be seeing Natalya actually winning the Money in the Bank briefcase and then cashing in on her own friend. It's not her first run with the championship, but there definitely would be some, outside of WWE jealousy, I guess you can say, that, Rousey comes in and basically in her second show is fighting for the championship. Natalya's been there for, I guess, 18 years or so. No, not 18. She's been there for at least 8, because I can remember being there in 2010. And, she's only had one run with the championship where she won it at last year's SummerSlam. And she wants to be the champion because she wants all eyes on her because she's a pretty damn good wrestler. So maybe Natalya could possibly be the winner and cash in on Rousey to go from there. But that every time she's in the ring, WWE's going to be looking for that picture that's going to be in the paper. She wants to have headlines on ESPN.com, as well as any other thing that covers, sports, to try and get people to come in. So maybe it's just a clean victory for Rousey where she gets the win and is going to be holding the championship to make people tune into Monday Night Raw to see what she's going to do with it and where that next feud's going to be coming from. Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Steve Breach coming to you here today. I was not able to finish the full show preview while I was at the dentist. I had a window of about 45 minutes in order to do it, but we weren't able to do it. So now we were home. I just lit the grill. I'll make the last of these videos while I'm making the chicken. These last, 4 videos are going to be the nuts and bolts of WWE's Money in the Bank. In the opening video, we talked about the fact that, the pay-per-views are not going to be 4 hours. There's going to be definitely a few matches that people really don't care about. But when it comes down to why people are going to watch WWE's Money in the Bank 2018, it's going to include the 2 Money in the Bank matches as well as the championship match for SmackDown. It might be the 4th or 5th match of these guys in their WWE career in the last few months. But hopefully this is going to be the end of the storyline between Shinsuke Nakamura versus AJ Styles. We saw these guys match up at WrestleMania. We saw them match up at the World's Greatest Royal Rumble. We saw them at Backlash. We saw them on SmackDown. Of those matches, I can honestly say that the last SmackDown match, in order to name the type of match that they were going to have, which ends up being a last man standing match to pay off on the storyline of basically Nakamura punching AJ in the balls, both of them punching themselves in the balls. I think they had a count out victory on one of those pay-per-views as well from just them fighting and brawling. Definitely, these guys have a rivalry. It dates back to New Japan Pro Wrestling, them at the Wrestle Kingdom, the Bullet Club, and all that jazz. These guys don't like each other. They're pushing each other to the limits. It's hard to think about Nakamura not winning the championship. This guy got promoted from NXT, joined the main roster on SmackDown. Most people thought that Nakamura was going to become the new John Cena-like personality that people were really going to get behind, that WWE was really going to push him. AJ Styles, I think, is on one hell of a run. If you can remember back to when AJ left TNA, it was sort of put out there that WWE didn't really want him because at that time I believe he was 36. They thought he was going to take him 2 years to work through the power plant as well as try and learn the WWE style in NXT. He'd be 38 by the time he made the main roster, and they didn't really know what he was going to be able to do. I think I got that wrong. I think he was 38 at the time, and they thought he was going to be 40. One way or another, it's one way, but he went to New Japan, and he really pushed it to the limit. People thought he was a good wrestler before he went there, and people thought he was great, borderline in the top 10, maybe even top 5 wrestlers in the world as of today, even wrestling the WWE style. I think that AJ really is the main guy for WWE right now. Definitely, you can tell, the Universal Championship, it's not really around. Brock is just sitting on his couch at home doing whatever Brock does. And, AJ's out there wrestling those house shows. He's wrestling on TV. He's giving us good match after good match. It just sort of sucks that his last few pay-per-view matches haven't really delivered to the point of where we really thought they were going to deliver. That's why I'm really hoping that this is going to be the end of this feud. I don't care if Nakamura wins. I don't care if AJ wins. Deep down, I really feel that if Nakamura was to win this title and end this feud, it would sort of hurt him as a character, that it took him so many times in order to do it, but he is playing a heel character now, so for him to have to cheat, and finally find a way to make it through to where he got the victory, where he became champion, maybe they just want us to hate him. Maybe that's why they changed his theme music, and did the things we did to make sure that we did not cheer him, and he came out as a heel, because that's what they're looking for out of all this. AJ keeping the championship could easily go on and fight Samoa Joe, who is looking awfully strong right now, whether if he wins the Money in the Bank or not. It would be fun. Joe is definitely a guy that could be in the conversation to win the Money in the Bank if he is the champion. If he is fighting the champion and he has the Money in the Bank in his back pocket. That's sort of when you think of those stories of let's say AJ versus Joe at the next pay-per-view, and AJ wins the match, but Joe gets up and just beats the crap out of him, much like the Daniel Bryan, Big Kaz at the end of Backlash when they had their match. Bryan might have won the match, but Kaz definitely got the better of him after, and Joe was the cash-in then. And, somebody having that briefcase is always going to have it in their back pocket. Nakamura, if he was able to win, you could go with the rematch, but I think most people are tired at this point, so doing Nakamura versus Daniel Bryan, if he was able to beat Kaz, would be something that people are really looking forward to, because that is sort of Daniel Bryan being the champion, is something that people really want to see. They never got the most of it with that run after WrestleMania 30, of course, because he had the match against Kane, and then he was injured after that. He came back for WrestleMania 31, won the Intercontinental title, and was done once again and shut down. So if Nakamura was to find a way to keep Bryan for the championship, it definitely would be a way to keep him in that heel role, where people definitely are hating on him. So maybe that's the direction that they're going to be going. But one way or another, I'm hoping this is going to be the last AJ versus Nakamura match. All right, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you. We're going to be talking about that co-main event for Money in the Bank 2018. This, of course, is going to be the women's ladder match. And this one, we're going to be looking at Sasha Banks, Natalya, Charlotte, Ember Moon, Alexa Bliss. We've got Naomi, and then we have Lana. This is going to be a really, really good match. Becky Lynch is in there once again as well. But this is going to be a really good match. Definitely, last year they raised the bar, having not one but 2 women's Money in the Bank matches that were both won by Carmella. Of course, everyone sort of growled at the end of last year's when you had James Ellsworth climb up the ladder, dropping the briefcase down to Carmella for her to get the victory. Lots of people saying that a man shouldn't have been involved in the match, and then they end up having the rematch where Carmella came out on top once again. I think this paved the road for the women to get their own Royal Rumble this year. Who knows, what's going to be coming. They've already got the Hell in the Cell, Elimination Chamber. What the women are going to be able to do to sort of push the women's revolution next, who knows. But this match is honestly filled up by a lot of baby faces. I'm surprised that you only see Alexa Bliss and Lana in this group. You can sort of borderline put Sasha Banks in there between the feud between her and Bayley, no matter which sort of side you see it. But when you think about the Money in the Bank ladder match, I always sort of think of a heel coming out on top, because if a babyface wins it, they sort of have to go with the Rob Van Dam approach, where they sort of already say what they're going to do with the Money in the Bank. Sort of like John Cena did. They announced, this is when I want to have the match, so there is no surprise. Both people are able to get ready for it. You don't sort of have the heel edge approach where you just come walking down to the ring and say, this is the time I'm going to cash it in, after the person's already gone through, an Elimination Chamber match, or is already sort of beat up and bruised inside of the ring. Lana, I don't want to waste a lot of time with. There's no way in the world she's going to win this. I don't really care. There are a small amount of people out there that think they should be able to squeak a victory out. I don't think they're going to repeat what they did last year, having maybe Rusev come down and help her out. I know that she is getting back into the Rusev program, but I really honestly thought the Lana experiment was done and she wasn't going to be wrestling anymore. I think that she definitely has more of a worth to the team as a manager, to Rusev, and Rusev is better with her than she is on her own wrestling. Becky Lynch was honestly in my mind the person who was going to win this, but after she had that one hell of a match on SmackDown this week against Charlotte, where she came out the victor, I think that she is not going to be winning this match anymore. Definitely before a pay-per-view, when you get heated up having that kind of a main event match, I guess you could look at it as your favorite, but for longtime wrestling fans, most people don't win that match and then go on and win at the pay-per-view as well. Alexa Bliss, being a heel, she's been on two hell of a runs with the championship on Raw and on SmackDown. Definitely she's always going to be in the championship picture, but I don't see her getting back into the championship picture this fast by winning the Money in the Bank briefcase. Yes, she is a big deal. Yes, as of right now, it looks like she is having one hell of a Hall of Fame future career, but I can see her sort of being cooled off a little bit, still having some programs on Monday Night Raw and on SmackDown. I'm trying to remember what she is on Raw. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, she's on Raw, but with her being there, I see her just having some, TV programs, or maybe something that gets pushed to a pay-per-view every once in a while, maybe having a match against Ronda Rousey, but I don't see her carrying around that briefcase. Sasha would be fun, because if she was to win it, you could tie in the storyline with Bayley, where Sasha finds the perfect opportunity to cash in the briefcase, but because maybe the ethics of Bayley, she doesn't want Sasha to win the title that way, because she knows she's better than that. It ends up costing her championship match, and that ends up being the straw that breaks the camel's back. And now we have a program between Sasha and Bayley, because for some reason this feud has been going on since before WrestleMania, and we have yet to see them have a big match against each other. So I don't even know what they're doing with that feud. We go down the line. Charlotte, I think she's too good of a wrestler to win the championship through the Money in the Bank. She's somebody that could get a match just about any time she needs it, and become the champion just in a one-on-one match. Ember Moon would be really, really fun, because a lot of those NXT people that got moved up at WrestleMania time, none of them are really doing anything. A lot of them wrestling on, sort of main event and on the B shows, not really having any really big feuds. I know that Almas is finally getting put on the main roster. Looks like he's going to be going into a feud with Sin Cara. We'll have to see what comes out of that, but like No Way Jose, Sanity, a lot of these teams we haven't really seen anything from. It's almost like Triple H got these guys pushed up to the main roster, and Vince or whoever didn't even want them or know what to do with them at this point. Naomi, she won the WrestleMania Battle Royal. She's somebody that honestly could win this as well. So this could be fun. As of right now, I was picking Becky Lynch. The one storyline that's in my mind that makes the most sense to me is Natalya winning the Money in the Bank briefcase and then cashing in on her good friend after she would beat Nia Jax for the championship. Ronda Rousey going up against Natalya could be really fun, and Natalya being that sort of veteran that's been in the ring could really lead her through some good matches. I know that Natalya was sort of going to be the manager of Ronda, and I thought that was going to build to them having a program on their own, but definitely WWE is wanting to put the green light on Rousey, putting that championship on her sooner than later, and I think her having some matches against Natalya on TV and pay-per-view could really help her out in the long run. So even though Becky looks like she's not going to win it right now, Natalya might be the funnest choice to win this, and possibly Ember Moon with the second choice right behind that. Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Steve Breach coming to you here. This is going to be the men's ladder match 2018. This is probably, hopefully, going to be the main event of the pay-per-view and set the storyline straight on the road to WrestleMania. We've got a jam-packed match full of just about everyone in WWE from Raw and SmackDown. The WWE making the Money in the Bank ladder match exclusive to SmackDown last year, I think, took away a little bit of the fun. We've got just about every main eventer in WWE minus Roman Reigns in here, from Kevin Owens, Bobby Roode, The Miz, Finn Balor, Braun Strowman, Rusev, Samoa Joe, and a member of the New Day. Just because there is one member of the New Day, I don't think that is going to narrow out the other two members of the New Day getting involved. Well, I guess we'll start with them because they're the biggest wild card of the match. My hope is that Biggie Langston gets into the mix here. I actually read an article of people talking about Biggie winning the Money in the Bank ladder match and actually getting behind them because of the fact that New Day, they do sell a lot of merch at the WrestleMania Superstore last year. They came out with an exclusive Tag Team Championship belt design for these guys, where I think they only sold a limited amount of the belts. Being able to come out with a Money in the Bank actual suitcase in the New Day attire would be really fun. And of course, because of the New Day rules, just because Biggie Langston won the Money in the Bank ladder match doesn't mean that there could always be a sneak attack of Xavier Woods or Kofi Kingston coming down with the briefcase and being the guy who's able to cash in, and then sort of using the Freebird rule as a champion on SmackDown would honestly be pretty fun, not knowing who is going to defend the belt, when and where, not making this just a tag team, a stable, I guess you could say. I think that is the longest reach wild card that is going to be out there, but I think it would be a really fun storyline. Kofi Kingston, more than likely, with his history of the ladder matches as well as the Money in the Bank matches, probably going to be the guy who gets the nod, but would be really fun to see something set up that way. From there, probably the longest outreach would probably be Rusev. He is rebuilding his career. The total Rusev Day chance filling up the SmackDown and Raw arenas. No matter if he's on the show or not, definitely is a showing to WWE that he is the guy that people want to get behind and they want to see how far he can reach in WWE. The whole thing with him and the singing gimmick, Aiden English coming out with him, might not be what gets him to the main event. Maybe a little bit retooling along the way. Definitely him hanging out with Lana more. I definitely think he'll be at the top of the card wrestling guys like John Cena once again. So even though he is a long reach in this match, he is definitely somebody to keep in your back of your mind that could get the victory. Middle of the pack guys would be Kevin Owens, Bobby Roode, I don't give them a lot of credibility to win this match. Bobby Roode definitely his, good guy, white meat babyface, just I'm going to smile one for the camera. I think he needs a little bit of the stuff that we saw in TNA and in NXT, just with him just being just total, cocky, I guess is the word I'm trying to say, knowing that he's going to be able to go out there and beat just about everybody. I, for one, loved the thing at Backlash with him coming out and just smiling for the camera, doing the conga with No Way Jose. I thought it was fun. Definitely at the end of the day, when that show was like 6 hours long, I wasn't the biggest fan of it anymore. Thinking that could have been something that really fun that went down on Monday Night Raw. But I definitely think until we see him turn into that sort of, I guess you can say, Ric Flair of WWE's Monday Night Raw, I don't see him getting pushed up the card that much. Kevin Owens still needs to rebuild himself from the whole Sami Zayn storyline that went just a little bit too long, honestly, in my mind. The whole thing of him wrestling against Shane McMahon at Hell in the Cell, him headbutting Vince McMahon, that stuff was really fun. But to make that last all the way from SummerSlam until WrestleMania, which led to him getting fired from SmackDown and then showing up on Monday Night Raw and then still doing basically the same storyline, it went a little bit too long, honestly, in my mind, and I think that he needs to rebuild it. This is going to leave us with Samoa Joe, Braun Strowman, Finn Balor, and The Miz. Definitely the 4 favorites in order to do it. Miz, this guy just needs a chance. Look what this guy did over on SmackDown the last 2 years, carrying the Intercontinental Championship. Although he never really wrestled against main event guys unless it was just on television. I know that everybody is itching to see that Miz versus Daniel Bryan match somewhere down the road. But how fun would it be to see Miz with the championship, him being able to beat a guy like AJ Styles or wrestle against a guy like AJ Styles in the main event of television and pay-per-view matches. Miz was a good champion back in 2010. Yeah, he did his part where he held the belt from Survivor Series until WrestleMania 27, and since then has fallen down to the mid-card, but he's never really fallen lower than that place. People that don't like this guy, you don't like him for a reason, because he's playing the character that he's supposed to be. Although that babyface run that he went on when he was managed by Ric Flair doing the figure 4, that was pretty painful to watch around WrestleMania 29. But besides for that, this guy's been money, and he deserves to be rewarded for everything this guy's been doing, from Total Divas, being able to get his own reality show spinoff. This guy does it for a reason, because he is good at what he does. And I know that it would be sort of a repeat, seeing him carrying around that Money in the Bank briefcase, but nobody really complained when a guy like Edge was doing it twice, when a guy like CM Punk was doing it twice. The Miz, I think most people might not even remember 2010, him holding that Money in the Bank briefcase. It would be a lot of fun to see him hitting some crushing finales down on that briefcase. Samoa Joe, he got the big win in order to get the last spot. He got the pose with the briefcase. I think that was really fun. I think that he's going to be the main event guy coming out of Money in the Bank on the SmackDown brand, whether that's facing a guy like AJ Styles or going after Nakamura. He is the guy that sort of paints the middle of the road. He can go babyface, he can go heel. I think it would be a lot of fun. Braun Strowman, he needs to be rewarded for the past year that he's been doing. It didn't matter if he's a heel or a babyface. People love this guy. They liked seeing him tag with Nicholas at WrestleMania. I thought it was a little cocky-eyed stupid, but I think I was one of the only few people who had that opinion. Braun, I don't see him being a guy who's going to win the briefcase and cash it in. If he's going to beat a guy like Brock Lesnar for the championship, he's just going to walk down, challenge that guy, eye to eye. He reminds me a lot of Big John Studd. I think he's got a big future in WWE. I do think that somewhere along the way that they could do something stupid with this guy, and he could turn from a serious wrestler into just sort of a laughing stock in the matter of no time, that just sort of forgets all this push that he had. So I'm hoping that WWE cashes in on him sooner than later. But Finn Balor, to me, definitely is a guy that has sort of been forgotten about in the last 2 years. Yes, he has had feuds that have mattered, but he's never had that championship match. And he's never got that rematch against Seth Rollins or against Kevin Owens since being stripped of the championship after SummerSlam a few years ago. You could tell that, Triple H does have huge plans for this guy. If you go back to Raw 25, he was acknowledged as being one of the guys that, Triple H wants to pass the torch to be the bright future of WWE. Last year we thought TLC or maybe around Survivor Series, somewhere he was going to get a championship shot against Brock Lesnar. He's really pushing forward. He knows that he can be the guy that carry the ball in WWE. It's only a matter of, I guess, getting the people there to believe in him, that, write the storylines and push him to the top. At one point he had that, and then he got injured. He came back from that injury, pushed to show that he wanted to do this more than anything else. We saw that in the WWE 24 episode. I don't know why it hasn't happened yet, but it's going to happen sooner than later, and I'm really hoping for it to be at Money in the Bank when he wins it, and for him just to flat out say, him versus Brock anytime, anywhere, whether that's SummerSlam. I'd love to see that match, and, even if Roman gets involved and it becomes a three-way, for Balor to win it and show that he is the future of WWE, I really want to see it sooner than later, and I'm hoping that Money in the Bank is the start of it. This looks like it's going to be a good pay-per-view that might be a little bit long, but it has 3 big matches that I believe can really deliver, that I care about. And, this is the start of what's going to be happening for the summer push of WWE. We'll have to see what WWE is going to be, because as of right now, they got those big television deals, but you've also got, ratings that are dipping. We're dying for some sort of big storyline to happen, and we got helicopters flying overhead, probably wanting to see what I'm doing out here making these videos on the Stevie Breach channel. So we'll end it on that. Money in the Bank's coming up soon. Brought it outside for the Wrestle Center barbecue. I guess I'm doing it old school like Miz is in 2010 as we're waiting on that chicken to finish. So peace out, everybody. See you guys down the road. All right, here we go. Roman Reigns, the supposed main eventer of WWE, is going up against Jinder Mahal. I don't even think Ravi, Assault and Battery 777, is going to have good things to say about this match. This is a feud that has really just sort of been just treading water on Monday Night Raw. To me, Roman was supposed to go after the Universal Championship against Brock Lesnar. It ends up that Brock's not booked. Looks like the word as of now is that Roman versus Brock is going to happen at SummerSlam, and that's maybe where we're going to get the end of the Brock Lesnar storyline. Roman going to WrestleMania and losing. Roman going to Saudi Arabia in the world's greatest Royal Rumble and losing was really a big mystery to me. Many people were pointing that he would go to Money in the Bank, and that's where they would have the big match, trying to make Money in the Bank be bigger than it has been, even though it's one of the big pay-per-views, just rising it, maybe hopefully getting it to the point of, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, seeing how it is the kickoff to the summer, is the way that I always sort of put it. But Roman versus Jinder, honestly, just doesn't do it for me. I would hate to see this main event, the pay-per-view. I think that, honestly, people would be getting up in groves and leaving the show. I could see the men's Money in the Bank being the main event. I can also, at the same time, see them pushing the whole women's revolution to the point where the women's match is the main event of the show. But Roman versus Jinder better not be anywhere near that pay-per-view ending of that show. This just seems like a match that people from the rafters would just be booing their likes off. I'm not one to really boo Roman Reigns, but when there are matches that I don't really care about or really don't see the point of, I tell the truth, and I think this is one of them. Roman, to me, is a really good wrestler. It seems like he has good matches all the time, but this is a match that honestly has no point to it at all. I don't even really know what the storyline is. I don't know if Jinder is trying to say that he wants to have his match against Brock Lesnar that he lost at Survivor Series, because he lost his match to AJ Styles over on the SmackDown brand for the championship when it was SmackDown champion versus Universal champion back then. But we'll see what goes down with this, but I'm not really looking forward to seeing a whole lot. If you can remember back to Undertaker versus what was his name? Oh, dang it. The guy where he just killed him because the WWE needed to kill the gimmick. I don't know why. I thought of him for a minute and then I forgot him. But he was like the Saudi Arabian guy back in the day. I keep on like, oh, it's Jinder Mahal, but it's not Jinder Mahal. But, or Undertaker just killed the guy at the Great American Bash. That's possibly what I'm looking forward to this match, where basically maybe just Jinder jumps him backstage and ends up sort of just being a backstage segment that rolls out to the ring, where Roman just beats him, where a non-official match really happens. That's possibly the best case scenario for this show. And I don't really know what the point of Roman beating Jinder clean would be.